Hello and welcome to Push to Prod. I'm your co-host Col and I work on Use a Lot, a tool to help SaaS companies build revenue through customer success.
And I'm your co-host Dan Miller. I'm building a SaaS for the first time and learning as I go. Each episode, we chat about all sorts of things to do with the world of starting, growing, and operating software businesses. And today, it's the 10th of August. Whoa, times have flown since we've recorded another episode, Cole, and it is still pretty cold in Canberra. How's it going up there in your part of the world?
It's, magic day today. We've actually had really good weather up until, I think we had 3 days of rain over the last probably, seems like month.
Yeah.
I've been, it's funny actually, we got some painting done, on concrete painting done on the surface of some outside around our pool. And we had all this good weather, and then they came and put the paint on, and then the day after it rained.
It rained.
And then the paint actually flaked off, and they had to come back. Oh, my God. So I was like, but yeah, man, I'm actually, I've enjoyed, this winter has not been as cold, but at the same time, I have realised I don't like winters as much. So I think last time we talked, I was going up to the tropics. Is that right? Have I caught up with you since then?
That's the last time we spoke. How'd you go? That sounded like it was going to be a lovely trip up there.
Yeah, I feel so bad. It's been a month. Yeah, it was, man. I've never been up there and I loved it. And I'm just like,
for everyone that's listening, Cole basically he drifted away as a castaway on a desert island somewhere and didn't come back for a month. That's why we haven't recorded.
Yeah. Well, I wish it was totally like that, but let's just pretend that's what happened. Yeah. I think I went up there and I just got a taste of the living in the tropics life and came back and never switched back on. But
nice.
Yeah, it's if you've ever, for those who haven't got up north in Australia, I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, I just loved it. And so I think that's going to be a July annual trek. I think it's
definitely worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely worthwhile. But yeah, apart from that, it's then been trying to get back into things. So, I was following you along and you sort of had a bit of a hiatus yourself there for a bit of a break. I shouldn't say hiatus, just a break.
Just a bit of a break. I do it every now and again just so I don't get too caught up, You can get really sucked into staying online and doing lots of stuff in there, and every now and again you sort of got to say to yourself, "Time for a break." Get back to the real world, get back in touch, get your hands into the into the earth, so to speak. So that's what I've been doing.
And we sort of touched on it before we hit record, but I feel like there's this year's been weird because I don't think it's been slow and not slow in certain things. Like everything's back from COVID, but at the same time, everything's not back, whether or not it's, people worrying about economy, there's some craziness in the world. And so, I think it was just a time to go, we can take a break. You know what I mean? We don't have to just go.
Absolutely.
Balls to the wall, pressure. We need to deliver. So I took that time. And to be honest, what you just said, taking a break, I sort of got back into one of my, I did this a few months back, started getting back into one of my old hobbies. I signed myself up I play war games like Warhammer. Well, I should say I used to play war games. I haven't played them in like 8 years, 7 years, something like that. And a tournament was coming. It's actually this weekend. And about 3 months ago, I put my name down as because it was full. You couldn't get in. I put my name down as if people drop out, send me in. And it was just before I went to the UK, actually, they messaged me and said, they've had dropouts. Do you want to come in?
Cool.
And I went, yeah, cool. And then I went, oh, crap, now I need to paint an army and learn the game again because I haven't played it for so long. So, so that was a little bit of just deliberate switching off the computer.
Do you have to bring a new army along to each tournament or?
Sort of like the podcast is, it's like a bit of a motivator for me. So if if you're going to a tournament and I had an army that I bought literally 10 years ago, didn't do anything with it. And I always wanted to have it painted. So I went, I'm going to take that one because it'll make me do it. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah. So just like only half an hour a day or something like that. I just put a bit of paint on the models and it's all done now as of like last week. So I'm like, yes.
Nice.
But that's going to be my weekend, to be honest.
I can imagine it'd be very sort of meditative when you're painting as well.
Yeah.
Because you're just focusing and that'd be.
Yeah, it's one of those, I loved it years ago, but I won't go totally into it, but they got rid of the game I loved. And so I sort of was a bit angry and went, bugger that, I'm not touching this stuff. But I've slowly, they're actually bringing my game back out. So I'm sort of prepping for that. So that'd be good. This is an old version we're playing on the weekend, but
Very cool. Yeah. Speaking of games, I got into a bit of basic fantasy RPG gaming at work as well.
That's not Baldur's Gate, was it?
Hey?
Wasn't Baldur's Gate as in the game?
No, it's actually called Basic Fantasy. That was what it is. Yeah. It sort of goes back to some real early rules from basically like the 70s sort of style. So it's very not so heavily structured. There's a lot more freedom to it.
Yeah, so not as 18D-ish, but prior to that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And
wow.
and it's pretty cool. I haven't been, into that world much, and so I'm loving it.
Yeah,
the guys have been playing since I think December last year, and so their journey's already fairly well advanced. And thankfully, they were kind enough to let me,
let
jump
you roll
in
a character and get in. Have you have you done anything with ChatGPT with that?
No.
Oh, because I did it a few months back. Probably about a month ago. I was sitting around, and when I was thinking about Warhammer stuff, I was thinking about they've got a Warhammer roleplay game, and I went, oh, now that's older. ChatGPT would know this, and I heard people were fiddling around with Dungeons and Dragons with it, and I went, I'm just going to see if I can tell it to like just me being one person. It can be my games master, and it does.
That is awesome.
It does the whole thing.
That is very cool.
So if you don't have any friends and you want to role play, you just get ChatGPT up.
Yeah, nice.
So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving it.
It sounds like we both sort of went back to our childhood there for a little bit and just had a bit of a relax. It's probably pretty normal. Let's just pretend we're in the Northern Hemisphere. It was the summer holidays, so.
Yeah, that sounds pretty normal. I mean, everyone else was on their summer holidays. We've got ours. We just do the bonus one. We'll do another one in 6 months' time.
I love it. That's very Aussie. I love it. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, this is going to be a bit of a catch up. I think we both, contacted each other and said we better get a pod out, but we didn't really have a specific topic. I did like something you brought up on Twitter, so we can talk about that in a bit. Oh, sorry, X. Bring that up in a bit. But do you want to? I guess. What have you been? Did you get back into your project as well, I guess?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Having a bit of fun with it. I got my MVP finished. I'm happy with that.
Wow. Okay.
So
cool.
it's in the hands now and ready to be, played around with. And Kristen's, looking into it, and she's going to be my beta tester or my alpha tester.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was just about to ask that because you were hopefully you're going to dog food this. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. So when you say MVP beta, is that are you actually doing it yet, or are you still just testing it before it goes?
It's live in a hosted environment. Yeah. This has been the busiest time of year for our business. Like the end of financial year is usually like Christmas for a retail business. You're super busy. So we're just coming off the tail end of that this week. Everything will probably start settling into a bit more of a groove, probably starting next week. So I reckon we'll get into it then.
Yeah. It's not it's like deploying on Friday, eh? You don't do that. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
It's been ridiculous. It's been good. So, and what else have I been doing with that? And I've been playing around with I got a basic Stripe integration working, so that was what got me to the MVP point. I went, okay, great, that's enough. Yeah. And then from there, I'm thinking, okay, now it's time to just refine that data model a bit and see if I can prepare to handle, access to features based on subscription plans. And I'll talk about it a bit more when we get into it later. But that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, cool. I thought that was interesting because you did put it out on Twitter. I'm just going to keep saying that. Are we supposed to call it Twitter?
I'm going to keep calling it Twitter.
It's still a Twitter icon on my Mac.
I'm still not sold whether or not the whole thing was just a marketing gimmick, and I'm just going to go back.
Fair enough. Yeah. So because I just thought there was some interesting things there that I definitely had run into when I built Social Pinpoint, and I think you were going the same route. So I mean, it's probably pretty common, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
Yeah. Well, probably the annoying thing is the slowness of what we've used a lot's traction, and I think that's been partly a lot of it's been I think July, like it's just overseas, we haven't had as much interest like that, but we did use that time. Like Charles did an awesome job, like rebuilding the entire website and Webflow, because one of the things we thought about, like the website was, I think we contracted it out 18 months ago and got it built, and it was barely a features page and stuff like that. So we went through just for we know it's a long game, just building out the SEO around community. That's still in my head. Customer success. So we wanted to really add a lot more pages around. Don't want to go full features, but I guess when people start delving into the website, they do want to know what features.
I'm looking at it now. I can see what you're saying, yeah.
So now there's a lot more, and the style of it means we can come along. Like right now we've got like 6 broad I guess, features, but that's going to break. We've already got another 3 that we want to put up there. And then also the industries. I think we talked about the industries a couple of pods ago around, GovTech and enterprise stuff and startups. So we're going to sort of build actual, industry-based focused pages. So the website's just the way Charles has structured it there. It can be done. Like we can expand it out now, so it's heaps better.
That looks really clean. That's nice.
Yeah, and so that was, Webflow's awesome once you got into it, and plus the templates out there. And so, it was a few iterations of banging around whether or not how much do you want to build it yourself versus, used off-the-shelf stuff. And I think it was, Charles just ended up smashing it out, really. It was
good
awesome.
on it. He's done a good job. It looks really nice. Yeah.
And then obviously with that in parallel was trying to do I sort of switched. That's probably why my Twitter went dark. I switched a lot of my effort, at least for 3 weeks, of just pumping out like LinkedIn stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because the whole thing is we wanted to launch and then run that and then see what happened. And I guess probably not the greatest timing, given that North America was probably a lot of them are on holidays. But to be honest, we haven't yet seen a massive jump. I'm not naive. I'm not expecting it to be huge, but so it's just that's where we're in now. We're in this weird state of, okay, is what we've done, like, is it working? Is it not? Like, and it's, it can be frustrating at times, but, again, going back to my point about just playing the long game and not being too stressed about things. This is a good market, and I continually get articles on the growing state of this market, especially forecast, 2025, 2028. And I'm like, as long as we're in there somewhere, but the only way we're going to be in there is just continually just be in there, even if it's not
be in the
profitable
game
just yet, if it's something that we can drag on. And I think we can do that. So, so it's been that. And, a couple of these trial people getting them up and running and finding some stuff and little things like that. But it hasn't been like, it has not been busy by any means with it. So, juggling that and just paying the bills with some contracting, really. So it's been a bit of a change. Hopefully we can get, smashed back into it as things pick up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm liking the way that you've structured it. Obviously they always say, talk about your values and, the benefits. And I can see that you're doing that really well on the homepage there. But you know what? Actually having the features listed up there is actually really good, because a lot of people then sort of say, okay, great, I've read your value proposition at the front page. I understand it, what I'm going to get. Tell me what I'm going to use. And sometimes sites go either one way, too heavy one way, or the other. They go all features, in which case it doesn't describe the value, or they just go all value. And then you walk away from the website going,
what does it do?
Still don't understand what this thing is.
Oh, totally. And I've always struggled with that, even with when we did Social Pinpoint. It's a different vertical, because then we were trying to educate as well. But what we were finding is the people, if they weren't educated, they wouldn't find you anyway. This idea. Yeah. I remember when we were in an accelerator, and one of the dumbest things people can tell you is you should be able to, your grandmother should be able, what is it, the mum test? Your grandmother or your mum should be able to understand it. I'm like, bullshit, I'm not selling to them.
That's right. I'm selling a specialized tool for a purpose here.
Yeah. So unless you're B2C, I just think that one's ridiculous.
Yep.
But But yeah, you're right. Like, at the same time, yes, you do want to solve their problem. You want to show them that you understand the problem. But at some point, depending on the maturity, I think people get there and they go, I want to know, especially if they know what your competitors are. It's like, I want to know how, I'm interested in this thing and I want to see it on your website and see how you compare. So we do need to do the comparisons pages and all that. So it's a journey.
It's a journey. It's a very nicely well started journey. I can tell you that. That looks great. Well done. You have to pass on your
I'll tell
congrats to Charles as well.
Yeah. No, he's basically a Webflow expert now, that's for sure.
Nice.
Who needs a designer?
Yeah, exactly. Well, mate, so this has been a catch up, and I think we talk about before about how I was playing around with that changing the data model for when I was handling subscriptions.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your opinion on some of that. Like, have you had a bit of a chance to look at that diagram that I drew? For anyone who's listening, like, I drew a little diagram. I threw it up on Twitter and I said, hey, critique my logical data model for handling subscriptions. So
I'll have to remember to throw this in the show notes, because we usually don't have too much resources. So I'll remind me. Yeah, look, I think I wasn't 100%. The question I wanted to sort of get you to walk me through is sort of what the entitlement part was.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think your premise was 100% true, and I'll state what I think, and you tell me if it's what you were saying. Is like you wanted this flexibility where you had plans and subscriptions, but then if you needed to, you wanted the flexibility to keep adjusting them and changing them, adding new ones, and making sure that you weren't forcing your old people who are already on one to get pulled into a new one and things like that. And so it was quite flexible, but not, over the top, so to speak. Is that sort of...
That's exactly what I was going for. So, okay, cool. My diagram possibly works. That's good.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. So I'm thinking early days, I've only got a few features in the app, right?
Yep.
But over time, that's going to grow. But what I don't want to do is then just keep gifting those features to those early subscribers. I want to, reward a few people for a while, but at some point you want to say, all right, enough's enough. You've probably got to upgrade at this point. Because in reverse, if you just keep gifting things to people and don't charge them an extra higher price, they're going to start devaluing your product in their mind. They're going to think, oh, well, I'm only paying $9 for this thing now, or whatever it is, or $20 for this thing, and it looks like there's about $100 worth of value in there, but why are they selling it so cheap?
Yeah. And I think let's just anyone who's listening going, no, don't add stuff until you can sell we're not talking about validating this product, hey? You're dog fooding it in your business. It's you can spend whatever time you want on it. So
that's right.
Let's throw that out.
I'm not doing an experiment here.
Yeah.
I'm actually this is actually a burning need. We need this. So I'm building it for a purpose. Yeah.
That's why I don't think you're over this is not something that you're like, hey, why are you doing this now? I particularly, it's not so much, to me, it's not the plan stuff that's exciting, which I think what you're doing is good as well. But it is this idea that you're thinking about features, because I think feature flagging is something that should go in earlier than what most people start putting it in. And I think it has a lot of benefits for even solo developers, because you start getting that freedom of being able to go, right, even if I'm not using it for features that users use, I can start safely. Now, once you've got your first couple of clients, the worst thing you want to be able to do is go, oh, I don't want to get experimental because I don't want to break something. It's like now you've got this feature system in there.
You want to be able to drop things in.
Yeah, you can turn something on just for you guys. And I think that's the most important part. And of course, you tie that straight into, the plan or the package or whatever you're calling it here, in order to say that this particular thing comes with these features. And allow you to change them, And so I think, it's awesome. The only thing, it's hard to walk through the diagram, but the plan to package to entitlement to feature thing, can you, what's the entitlement part? Because I think it's probably just a nomenclature thing that I just want to clarify.
It is a nomenclature thing. It's essentially it's what you would call a join table.
Yeah.
To deal with that many-to-many relationship.
Oh, okay. Right. So you've named the many-to-many. Yep.
Yeah. And what it basically means is if say for example you've got a two plans in your product, right? You've got individual plan, or you say you've got a basic plan or a professional plan, right? The basic plan's $10, the pro plan's $30, something like that. You want to say that in the basic plan you get access to the following features, right?
Yep.
And if you're in the pro plan, you get access to all those features plus extra bunch of features on top of that.
Yep.
So that's what's going up there in the entitlement.
Gotcha.
But it's basically a join is what it is.
It is, when I can see it now when I go, it's a feature to package many-to-many. Yeah, and I think I was looking across and I saw it go one-to-many, one-to-many, and that's when I was like, oh, what's this is called? What's this? Is this like a grouping thing? But no, that's exactly what. Well, in that case, it's virtually the same as what I did in Social Pinpoint back in whenever it was, 2013, and it still stayed there till now because it was so flexible.
Yeah, the concept's pretty solid, hey?
Yeah, and I don't think you had to go too far overboard. It was really good. The only thing that, from the things I would work differently, and it's not even the data model, the UI could do this for you, or the algorithm, is one thing that we never built in Social Pinpoint automatically was if you transferred someone, I'm just trying to remember what we did here. If you transferred someone from one plan to another, like say a grandfathered plan to a non-grandfathered, I think we did the logic that if you had turned on a feature basically they didn't lose a feature. You had to manually go in and turn them off. So just in the event someone had gone in and flicked them to a different plan and suddenly they were running a feature that, do you know what I mean? Just as a safety mechanism. But you could easily do that with logic. You could have this flag that says, do you want to do X, Y,
What I could possibly do then is just create an additional new package, really, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that's the only thing we did. But we just, I like the idea of having, and I think this is what you've got here, is like these, I call them plans, but I think they're packages. What yours is they're just definitions, and they're saying that this package has these features on, and then if you transfer to another one, you've got a different set. And I guess
exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we just had this extra bit of business logic that went, okay, don't turn off, feature A, and that,
that's a great idea.
I think it was only because we didn't get a lot of downgrades, so it was easy to downgrade stuff and turn the ones off. But we had government projects running for like a year, and if they eventually downgrade, you didn't want to you didn't
want to take it away.
You couldn't pull away a site that was running. I mean, technically, you could argue why wouldn't you? But there was some little things like that we just chose to do it.
Now you've just created a whole bunch of stuff going on in my head, which I'll have to go and figure out another day of, how do I deal with downgrades? Great.
Yeah. But I mean, look, the simple way is you go bugger it, you just reapply the features as done, The only other thing we always did too, which could get out of hand, but I thought was awesome, was just like dark features. So, we had some feature flags which we could reuse over time for different features, and then eventually they wouldn't be features anymore. They'd be part of the product, so that we'd remove them off that. And but no, and flexible model, I think it's totally what you want to do. And which part's connected through to Stripe? Is it the package has the definition of the product, whenever, or whatever they call it,
and the subscription. So whenever I get an event from Stripe that says subscription complete or created, then I would just run some logic to say, okay, great, there's an entry there in the subscription, and that would tell me which package they're subscribed to.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, and when you said you integrated with Stripe, where did you get to versus this? Like, is that just literally like doing a
basic
payment
just
thing?
The most basic, out of the box, get the thing working.
Okay.
Yeah. So like it's like a flow from from a payment page or a sign up page. Through to picking your package, then getting pumped over into the Stripe checkout, and then from there, it'll send back the usual Stripe events to say, hey, someone's completed, you got to deal with it.
Yeah. So how are you foreseeing keeping the packages defined in your database here in sync with what's in Stripe?
I suspect that's going to be a bit of an effort, but you can actually send keys over into Stripe as well, and use that as metadata so when someone signs up, you can actually say to Stripe, okay, they're signing up to this particular product, and here's some metadata I want you to use on the subscription. So if it's successful, I want you to send me back that metadata to tell me what they chose.
Right.
So I can then link the two together.
Yeah. We did find, I think that's what we used to do, is used to create the Stripe. We used to create these plans in Stripe, and we used to have I'm going off, I haven't looked at the social pinpoint stuff for like 5 years, I don't think so, or maybe 3, so I'm trying to remember what it was, but it was like, we made like a standard in how you can create the ID of your plan yourself in Stripe?
That's right, yeah.
So we created like this syntax where then you'd know what certain
like an
things
SKU
were.
or something.
Yeah, and then our system could easily like work some stuff out of that. And maybe we just weren't using metadata right, or it could have been earlier. Who knows?
Stripe's evolved a lot in the last few years. Like the API's changed. Yeah.
That's why I was asking that, actually, because I wonder how it was not great with the play. It was pretty simple in the early days, and I think it's got way better now. And
they've got a pretty good concept now where you define your product in Stripe, and that'll be your individual plan or your basic plan or your pro plan. And then what you can do is when someone goes to subscribe to it, you can pass along some metadata through the event. You creating the session. So you're creating a Stripe session, right? And you can pass some metadata into that says, this person this is their user ID. This is what I want you to pay attention to, and I want you to keep track of all this information I give you, so that if they successfully sign up, Stripe will then send you a webhook, and it'll say, okay, so and so has actually successfully completed a sign up. Oh, and by the way, here's all the metadata you told me you wanted to know about if they were successful, and then you could then cross-check that and link that back into your own system.
Yeah, cool. Actually, the other thing that I did do, and I now can't remember how we had plan types or something, which were called like add-ons, and we had a reference from the plan back to itself, because then you could have effectively add-ons on a plan, like in your case it might be like sub packages of a package which added like extra little things on.
Oh, that's cool.
And they also could have features, so that way you could have like a I don't know, whatever, some you add this module onto the product, and then it's $30 a month, but then that enabled features XYZ. So
Cool.
that's the only probably thing in that I could see you
that
might
doesn't
be
exist in
missing.
my model.
Yeah. So we did run into that, and we actually use that a lot as well. Again, Stripe's probably got a better way of doing that now. Who knows? But
well, I've obviously come a long way, because it was only, I don't know, 2 or 3 episodes ago when I was saying to you, Cole, man, Stripe documentation. I'm in a world of pain. So I've evolved a lot since then, haven't I?
Did you? Because I remember we've talked about that. I was like, isn't there like just heaps of different generations of stuff? Like, did you find out? Like, were you always looking in the right spot, or were you looking at things that might have been older, or like?
It was just a case of not being immersed enough into the concepts yet, and not having enough contextual knowledge to know what I was looking at. And then after a while, it sinks in. You just go, I'm getting it. I'm grokking what you're talking about here. Got it. Cool. Okay, right. The model's sinking into my head. I've got a mental model now. All right. I understand. Yeah, it's just one of those things.
Did you find? Did you get any benefit, and maybe you did or didn't, of like going into their interface and playing around and adding stuff, and then you worked out what their API was? Is that,
they've got brilliant. They've got brilliant sandpits and heaps of Docker. Like they've got Docker for examples of so many different code and programming languages and frameworks. So you can say, I'm building my thing on Ruby, and it's on Rails, and it'll just give you an example. Or I'm building it on Node and I'm using React. Here's another example. Try that. So it's really helpful. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I literally saw, you might have seen this, some thread today on Twitter, people saying, give us your best API. Like, what's the API that makes you smile and be delighted? And there was a lot of people who said Stripe.
Yeah, I can see why. It makes sense. Yeah. It's very well documented. Yeah, very, very well
these
documented.
days, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but man, I think that's not over the top by any, and like, it's not like the fact that you've documented the join tables here, you're talking about 3 objects outside of your user tables. Yeah, so it's pretty simple.
Not too bad.
It's awesome, man.
I'll give it a crack. See how I go. So, again, I'm learning as I go, right?
that's the goal.
The whole idea here is, I think if I build this, if I build this enough, I've basically got a little bit of a starting point. If I ever want to start doing some other experiments in the future, I could just literally fork the code base, just start changing and mucking around with the UI, and everything else is built.
Yeah.
So
it's like its own SaaS starter. Is that what you mean? Like,
it would be, yeah.
Yeah.
Boilerplate.
It's funny, like, because there's a lot of those starters out there which are really cool, and you think, so I'm going to use one, and you probably do, because that's what I did with Social Pinpoint a little bit. It wasn't so much a SaaS starter, but the reality is, by the time you start your second SaaS, like, you'd think that starter's like probably way out of date. Sometimes.
Could be, yeah. Plus, you kind of want to know it like the back of your hand, don't you? You want to know. You don't want to know everything so you can go fast. That's the thing.
Yeah. I think it's awesome if you're like pumping them out for other people. I think that's because so many people. I mean, we do too. Like, you waste so much time doing stuff that other people have. It's all the same stuff. People expect that like you're doing now, the sign up flow and how you pay for things and plans out. If you're doing something different, that people are probably like scratching their heads going, why?
Hey, question. What do you think about that as a concept? Like, for those who, go and build software products or web applications or things like that for other people all the time, that's their day in, day out job. They might be building, a number of these in any given year. Whereas you're building a SaaS, you're basically kind of building it once and sticking with it for several years.
Yeah,
so
totally.
There's a difference there, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I've never loved the idea of just pumping stuff out for other people as a career. I mean, as a contracting thing where you're just, doing stuff, I think that's fine. But I couldn't love it. I feel like you want to have something that's yours and you get to see it evolve. But I mean, I guess that's just different type. The best part about doing lots of them, I think, early on in your career, you do learn a lot when you see a lot of different business models, what people are trying to do. If you get to play with, different tech on how you might, like if you've done a Node SaaS, someone's done a Ruby, someone's done a whatever, you get to see all the different ways you can do it. So there's probably heaps of value in that. Whereas if you're stuck in one for, say, 15 years, you sort of, it's cool. You know your product.
Ways to evolve. Yeah.
Yeah. You're probably back to square one when you start another one because you're like, I don't know how we ended up as the right way. Yeah, well, that's cool, man. You've been going well, Dan. Actually, one thing I'd totally sort of take a 90-degree turn here now. I forgot to bring up in my update was we were helping out trying to revive a LinkedIn group called CSA Community, which is Customer Success Australia.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah. And it's run by 3, I think it was started by 2. They're just Aussie CSMs in different, I think one's in Melbourne, one was in Sydney. I might be wrong there. But then one of them's pretty busy. He actually runs some stuff around, I think it's snowboarding or something. So he's quite busy. So they ended up with another person involved. But and then this is this is around the COVID stuff where they were trying to get like meetups happening virtually and in person where they could. But then obviously since in the last couple of years or the last 18 months, it's sort of stagnated and it's got they've got 200, 300 different users and followers of this community.
Yeah.
But hasn't grown so much. And so that was because we're doing LinkedIn outreach. We went, well, we don't want to come in as a vendor pushing anything. It's not that, but it's like, let's get involved in the CS community in Australia and try and promote not only in person, but more virtual events. And so, the guys were nice enough to have us on board. We've had like weekly calls with them. We had our first sort of virtual meetup with just people last week just to see, we only got a few, but the idea is if we do it consistent enough, eventually, and we're going to try for a Newcastle and a Melbourne, just beers, just get people in a pub, see what happens. And, like this podcast, man, just do it. We don't need to totally go over the top in terms of prep. Let's just get people together.
That's a nice idea.
Goes. And I think, targeting, again, going back to the whole traction of use a lot is like just finding that niche. And if our niche happens to be Australia for 12 months or 18 months, well, that's good. Let's just do that. Do you know what I mean? So
plus being involved with the community is always fun. You get to stay, on the pulse, you get to share things and also you get to have other people give them the opportunity to share things as well. And that's just fun.
Yeah. And the guys have really been receptive because I'm a little bit of, I'm quite opinionated sometimes. I'm trying to be less, but, one of my things with CS is I want it to be, and I don't think this is my idea by any means. It's a company-wide thing. It's not a department, even though we do call customer success a department. So what I've sort of told these guys is I'd love to build this community so it's not a community. It's ironically not a community of customer success managers. It's actually a customer success community, which means I'm trying to reach out and start thinking about what product people I can bring in, what founders or CEOs or CTOs into this community because that's customer success. So
very cool.
Hey, if we can achieve that, man, I'd be happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I reckon that's a brilliant idea. Just staying in touch, being part of it, it just makes it fun as well. Just increase your surface area of who you're connecting with. That's the way to do it, man. Yeah. I mean, it also makes it enjoyable. Otherwise, we're just sitting here looking at screens all the time.
Totally. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And I think people are a little bit out of off the whole Zoom webinar thing. I mean, we're going to be doing a few of them as well, but I think people are quite happy to go to events now.
For sure.
They might not want the whole structured stuff. Maybe they do. I guess that's what we'll play around with. But just get out and have some fun and meet other people because, I mean, they're all doing the same things. And I think CSMs, I should say, they're struggling. I mean, in this downturn, like this issue, we've seen lots of layoffs in CS and, belt tightening. It affects them. I don't know it affects everyone, but it affects them heavily, I think, because they're seen as, responsible for the largest chunk of the revenue of a SaaS company. So I feel like it does land on them, probably not where it should all the time, but at the end of the day, it does. And so they're going through, they've got these challenges and the best way is get them together, talk about them. Everyone understand that they're not alone and obviously try to solve it as well. So
brilliant.
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get some movement on some of the web traffic. You never know, but we'll see what happens. We'll just keep monitoring it.
Have you actually got the analytics connected up to it? And
just have. I mean, we are using GA4, which I'm banging my head against the wall a bit, but I actually did try. So I tried Fathom. So funny. But you got to pay. It's like, what is it? It's like $15 or $20 a month, which to me, where we're at, I'm like, GA4 will be fine for what I know. But anyway, I plugged it in as a trial. And I think this was pre-going away when I went up to Port Douglas. I whacked it in. Actually, I don't even know if I told Charles about this because he wouldn't have noticed it because I plugged it in and then came back like I had a reminder on my calendar like cancel Fathom, like, you know, and I went, oh, crap, yeah, I forgot I did that. So I open up Fathom and I'm like, it's got no data. I was like, what is it? And I'm looking around, and then I went, and so like I still had like a week left or whatever. And I went, oh, I don't know, maybe something's happened. And I can't even remember what I did. I think I fiddled with a few things and went, oh, no, it's not working. I don't know. And then anyway, I cancelled Fathom and I went into Webflow to undo like the custom code thing.
Oh.
I'd pasted it in, but
yeah,
I can't remember one of us or someone had put a style in there as well. And I pasted it like inadvertently, I'd pasted it like in between the
gotcha.
style tag. So it was actually just in a comment. The whole Fathom.
So it was completely invisible.
It wasn't even running. So poor Fathom. I will give him another go. I thought at this time I'm like, got bigger problems. But
Oh, man. Oh, yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it wasn't really, like we weren't going to use it, so it wasn't anything I was even looking at. It was just something I was trialing on the side, and purely because I think it's Transistor, you know, they got the Fathom ID in the thing, and I thought I should go try that because people rate it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I should actually.
I hear we're sort of starting to get into a more of a GDPR world now with analytics as well, so it's going to be harder and harder to actually attribute where people are coming from. So
yeah, totally. Whether or not you agree with it or not, but it's crazy. No, cool, man. Well, hey, that's a pretty good catch up. Hopefully, we'll. Dan and I are talking everyone about episodes. We'll keep doing that and actually have some topics. But like always, if anyone else has topics or questions, send them in to us for sure.
Yeah, you got to reach out to us on X, aka Twitter. I still call it Twitter. I'm Mr. Dan Miller, and you are?
I'm at Gummo on X, I guess. Yep.
Yeah.
And
hit us up.
Yeah, if you're out on LinkedIn too, hit me up as well, because obviously I've been spending a little bit more time there, but I'm also always happy to chat on Twitter.
Yeah. And if you have been listening since the start, or if you've joined in, after a few episodes in, and this is, you've gotten back, this has turned up in your feed again, let us know. We want to actually hear from you. So give us a buzz. Say, hey, Col, Dan, I've been listening to you. I heard you call out. I'm just getting back to you. We want to know what you're thinking, what you like about the show. If you've got any ideas and you've got any suggestions, or maybe you might want to be a guest on the show. Who knows? Give us a yell and we'd love to hear from you. But other than that, Col, I've enjoyed catching up with you this week. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dan, and stay warm down there, and I'll speak to you next time, mate.
No worries, mate. See you next time.